I'm Jasril from the Customer Success Team at Consultare Inc. Group. Last week, we covered the product labeling and printed materials program as outlined in FSSC 22000 version 6, clause 2.5.2. Today, we will focus on clause 2.5.3, Food Defense Program under FSSC 22000 version 6, additional requirements. This program focuses on protecting products and processes from intentional contamination or adulteration that could compromise consumer safety or brand integrity. It ensures that preventive measures are in place to identify potential vulnerabilities within the supply chain, production, storage, and distribution processes. By implementing a comprehensive food defense program, organizations can establish effective access controls, surveillance, and employee awareness initiatives to mitigate security risks. This not only strengthens protection against intentional harm, but also reinforces regulatory compliance, enhances audit readiness, and supports a culture of vigilance and food safety throughout the organization. By the way, this free training is sponsored by Consultare Inc. Group, a compliance company. Founded in 2007, we began by assisting businesses with U.S. import and export compliance and have since evolved into a global provider of food safety, quality, and certification support. Today, our services revolve around compliance management software, specialized training, and end-to-end support services that help organizations achieve and maintain compliance with international standards. Through our platform, interlinkiq.com, we offer an integrated compliance management system that streamlines documentation, monitoring, and audit readiness. We also provide dedicated compliance and certification support programs for FSVP, PCQI, SQF, BRCGS, FSSC 22000, ISO 9001, GMP, and HACCP, helping businesses strengthen their regulatory compliance, enhance operational efficiency, and ensure alignment with global food safety and quality management standards. Let's take a look at our training schedule. For this week, we will cover the Food Defense Program under FSSC 22000 2.5.3. We will begin by familiarizing ourselves with the FSSC 22000 version 6 additional requirements clause 2.5.3 Food Defense Program. We will start with a clear description of the requirements, followed by a walkthrough of the compliance action activities or your scheduled tasks carried out on a daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, and semi-annual basis to ensure ongoing certification readiness. We will also discuss the importance of the annual review and internal audit activities, which serve as checkpoints to verify the effectiveness of the program and maintain continuous improvement. After this section, we will open the floor for a Q&A session, giving you the opportunity to clarify any requirements and ask questions related to implementation. If you have questions as we go through the presentation, feel free to type them in the chat box and we will make sure to address them during the discussion afterward. As part of this training, you can access a free 90-day trial of our FSSC 22000 certification management software. This tool helps streamline compliance tasks, assign accountability, and keep audit-ready records. It's also a great way to prepare for FSSC 22000 certification, as many participants use it to get familiar with the requirements and practice spotting compliance gaps before an official audit. And finally, upon completion of this training, each participant will receive a familiarization training certificate. To ensure that you will receive your certificate, please make sure that you have filled up the free certification familiarization training sign-up form that we shared in the chat box. On the screen, you will see a sample of the familiarization certificate that you will receive upon completing each session. With that, let's move forward to our training session where we will be working directly with the FSSC 22000 Compliance Management System software. So let's start by going over the description of the Food Defense Program. Please take a look at the description in the screen. So the summary of requirements is outlined below to make implementation easier. It says to implement FSSC 22000 2.5.3.1 or threat assessment, the organization shall first conduct and document the food defense threat assessment based on a defined methodology to identify and evaluate potential threats linked to the processes and products within the scope of the organization. 1.1.2 Develop and implement appropriate mitigation measures for significant threats. To implement FSSC 22000 2.5.3.2 or plan, first, the organization shall have a documented food defense plan based on the threat assessment specifying the mitigation measures and verification procedures. 1.2.2 The food defense plan shall be implemented and supported by the organization's FSMS or Food Safety Management System. 1.2.3 The plan shall comply with applicable legislation, cover the processes and products within the scope of the organization, and be kept up to date. And 1.2.4 or food chain category F2 only. For food chain category F2, in addition to the above, the organization shall ensure that their suppliers have a food defense plan in place. So, to implement this program, we've developed a list of action items here on the compliance tab. So this feature helps the FSQA or the food safety team leader stay organized by scheduling tasks based on required frequency. So you have here your daily tasks. You also have your weekly, quarterly, and biannual or semi-annual action items or action activities. So for the daily action activities, this might include conduct daily food defense walkthrough, monitor facility security and access points, verify visitor and contractor control, report and act on suspicious activity. And then for your weekly task, it includes checking the effectiveness of mitigation measures, reviewing personnel and training updates, reviewing food defense alerts or notifications, conduct a short team briefing on food defense awareness. For your quarterly activities, this might include conduct a food defense internal verification audit, review and update threat assessment if needed, verify supplier food defense compliance for F2 category, evaluate training effectiveness, and validate food defense monitoring records. For your biannual or semi-annual action items, this might include conducting full review and update of the food defense plan, perform a mock food defense incident or drill, include food defense in management review, and verify compliance with legislation and FSSC requirements. So to implement these programs, we've also added the work instructions here on how to perform each of these action items. So for example, to perform this specific action item states that conduct daily food defense walkthrough. So let's take a look at the specific action item, or I mean work instruction on how to perform this. First step is to schedule and plan your daily walkthrough. So the activity includes establishing a consistent schedule for daily food defense walkthroughs, ensuring coverage across all shifts and critical areas such as your receiving, processing, storage, or your dispatch area. So you need to complete your daily inspection schedule, checklist, or route plan as your artifacts or records. Next step is to perform perimeter and access control check. You can do this by verifying that all facility entry points, external doors, gates, and access controlled areas are secure, locked, and monitored. So then again, your focus is to make sure that no intentional adulteration or contamination will be introduced into your food and food facility. Your artifacts and records to complete this task might include your food defense inspection checklist, perimeter inspection log, and security system report. Next is to inspect employee and visitor access areas. So you need to ensure that only authorized personnel and visitors are accessing production areas through designated entry points and wearing proper identification. You need to complete the visitor log, employee access control log, or ID verification records. Part of performing this action item is to review CCTV and security monitoring equipment. You need to confirm that surveillance cameras, alarms, and motion sensors in critical zones are functional and unobstructed. So you need to complete the CCTV operational checklist, security maintenance log, or deviation or corrective action report. Next is to inspect the storage and ingredient control points. This is also a critical site within your facility. So you need to check for tampering signs of unauthorized access in storage, ingredient, and packaging areas, and verify that materials are sealed and properly labeled. So for your artifacts and records, you need your storage inspection log, tamper evidence checklist, and deviation report if any. And then next step is to verify food defense barriers and seals. So you need to ensure that barriers, locks, seals, or tamper evident devices on bulk ingredient containers and finished goods are intact to make sure that no intentional adulteration are introduced into your ingredients. The artifacts and records involved in this step is your seal verification log, equipment integrity record, and corrective action log. Next step is to observe employee behavior for unusual activity. So this involves monitoring your staff behavior for signs of unauthorized movement, unusual actions, or potential insider threats. So you need to observe the behavior of your staff to make sure that you prevent any untoward or intentional sabotage of your ingredients and other um, materials within your facility. So the artifacts or records needed here are behavioral observation report or your incident report form if applicable. Next is to confirm restricted access to sensitive areas. So you need to verify restricted zones, such as your chemical storage, control rooms, or your utility areas, and make sure that they are locked and accessible only to authorized personnel. You need to complete your restricted areas access log, door lock inspection sheet, and authorization list. And then you need to record observations and deviations. So this involves documenting all findings during the daily walkthrough, noting both compliance and any observed deviations or vulnerabilities. For the artifacts and records, you need to fill up the daily food defense walkthrough checklist, deviation report, or corrective action request or CAR. Communicate and follow up on findings. So you need to report deviation immediately to relevant departments and ensure corrective actions are implemented and verified. Your reports here includes corrective action report, follow-up log, verification record, or email communication. And lastly, you need to file and maintain walkthrough records. You need to retain the completed daily checklist and reports according to document control and retention policies. This can be done by filling up your controlled inspection file, document retention log, or food defense verification binder. Now let's take a look at how to upload or how to substantiate your compliance to this specific action item. So to complete this, to provide evidence of compliance that you conduct daily food defense walkthrough, you can upload a record such as your food defense daily walkthrough inspection checklist. So let's take a look at this record. So this record shows that a daily food defense inspection was conducted in the production as well as in the receiving and storage areas to ensure compliance with the FSSC 22000 requirements. So below here, there are corrective actions and follow-up. There are two observed non-conformances. The first one is bottled drink found in the production area. The other one is CCTV lens at DAC 2 is dusty. So the corrective action taken are also recorded here. For the first NC, instructed the employee and reinforced rule on no food or drinks within the production area. And for the second non-conformance, the dusty CCTV lens at DAC 2 was cleaned and verified as operational. The responsible person is also listed here. So overall, this form or this record confirms active monitoring, timely corrective action, as well as supervisor verification to uphold food defense integrity. All other inspection points were found compliant, indicating effective implementation of food defense measures throughout the facility. So then again, this is just a sample of a record or compliance evidence that you can substantiate to turn your nose into yes. So your goal is to perform all compliance activities according to their scheduled frequency, and then you could um, switch the nose into yes to make sure that your facility processes and documentation remain fully audit ready. So now let's go over to the annual review tab, which also serves as your gap assessment tool. So this tab is designed as an internal audit checklist. As you can see, it is in a form of questionnaire aligned with the FSSC 22000 requirement. It lists all required annual review items to help you maintain compliance with the certification requirements. So here, you'll find all the annual review items that should be reviewed and maintained to comply with FSSC 2.5.3 or Food Defense Program. So here are some of the examples. Is there a documented food defense program established and implemented? Does the food defense program include a threat assessment to identify intentional contamination risk? Are mitigation measures in place for all identified significant threats? Has the facility identified food defense sensitive areas like ingredient receiving, mixing, or storage? Are access controls in place to restrict personal entry to sensitive areas? Are visitor and contractor controls implemented and monitored? Are delivery and dispatch activities secured to prevent tampering? Are employees trained and aware of food defense practices? Does the food defense program include incident reporting and response procedures? Is the food defense program reviewed at least annually or when significant changes occur? Are records of threats assessment, mitigation measures, and reviews maintained? Are corrective actions taken when vulnerabilities or breaches are identified? Is management involved and supportive of the food defense program? Are external threat intelligence or industry alerts reviewed and considered? And is the food defense program integrated with other food safety programs like HACCP or food fraud? So these are samples of your annual review items that you need to verify to attain compliance with the food defense program. So let's pick one annual review question. For instance, are access controls in place to restrict personal entry to sensitive areas? So let's check on the work instructions to make sure that this um, annual review questionnaire is completed. First is to identify sensitive areas for access control. So the FSQA or the food defense team shall identify all sensitive areas within the facility that require restricted entry. This might include the ingredient receiving area, mixing, storage, or processing zones. So your artifact or record includes sensitive area list, food defense site map, or area classification matrix. Then you should define authorized personnel per sensitive area. The food defense team shall establish a list of authorized personnel allowed to access each sensitive area based on their job roles and responsibilities. So you need to complete your authorized personnel access list or your department head approval form. Next is to implement physical access control measures. It involves physical barriers such as locked doors, key cards, biometric scanners, or coded locks, which shall be installed to control entry into sensitive areas. The artifacts or records that should be filled up here are your access control system records, door lock installation log, or the key control log. Then you need to issue access credentials to authorized personnel and make sure that only personnel included in the approved list shall be granted access credentials. So this might include issuing of ID, badges, keys, or access codes. So you need to complete your access credential issuance lag, badge assignment form, and key handover record. And then step 5 is to display area access signage. So sensitive areas that you've identified shall be clearly marked with signage indicating restricted entry to authorized personnel only. So you need your area signage documentation, photo evidence, or maintenance signage log. Then you need to conduct entry and exit monitoring. The facility shall monitor access through sign-in sheets, electronic logs, or surveillance systems to track personal movement in and out of sensitive areas. You can complete your access logbook, electronic entry report, or CCTV footage record. Then you need to review access rights regularly. The food defense team shall review and update the list of authorized personnel at least annually or when organizational changes occur. Next is to remove access rights of ineligible personnel. So when employees change roles or are being reassigned or are no longer authorized, so their access credentials shall be immediately revoked to prevent unauthorized entry. You need to complete the access revocation log, HR clearance form, or badge return record. And then you need also to conduct awareness and training. All authorized personnel shall receive food defense training on the importance of restricted access and the responsibilities when entering sensitive areas. Forms or records included here are your training attendance sheet, training materials, and employee acknowledgement form. And finally, you need to verify access control during internal audits. Internal audits shall include verification that access control systems are in place, functional, and properly documented for all sensitive areas. Forms or artifacts that need to be completed here are your internal audit checklist, your audit report, or your corrective action log. So to demonstrate compliance for this annual review item, you need to upload supporting evidence such as your records, logs, or other relevant documentation that verify that the activity has been completed and meets the required standard. So let's pick the same annual review item. Are access controls in place to restrict personal entry to sensitive areas? So you can upload here the food defense sitemap and authorized personal access list. Let's view the document here. So as you can see, this record shows that the company has established and documented access control measures to protect um, sensitive facility areas. It identifies key areas within the site, and then it also specifies who are authorized to enter each of those restricted sites and defines the level of access control, whether they are restricted, controlled, or general access level. So the record demonstrates that personal access is actively managed, monitored either through ID systems and CCTV, and reviewed annually to ensure that only trained and authorized employees can enter critical areas, reducing risk of intentional product contamination or tampering. So your goal is to complete all of these annual review items to keep your site fully prepared for both internal and external FSSC 22000 certification audits.